What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and I am joined by our good friend SFZ. Me and Tyler were on his channel earlier before Pirates 5 came out. We did some discussion videos on his channel talking about it. He's a big Pirates of the Caribbean fan in general, very knowledgeable. He's had some very different, good kind of different videos since Pirates of the Caribbean. So go check him out. We'll have his channel in the description, and then you can also see some of the stuff he's done. So we're glad to have him on, and we're going to be talking today in a special Pirates of the Caribbean video about the ride, about the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. So there's been a lot of talk about it. Other channels have done content about it. We're going to go in our classic in-depth kind of talk about it in general, and then me and him are going to have a discussion back and forth. If you like that idea, make sure to subscribe to Podcast Now, our YouTube channel, like and share. Okay, so run us through what's been going on with this Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on, by the way. I didn't get to say that before.
No problem.
So the Pirates of the Caribbean ride has undergone a change. Well, it's planned for 2018. They're going to change the bride auction scene, the classic bride auction scene where they're auctioning off. Well, the redhead is at the front. The pirates are calling, "We wants the redhead," and it's a classic scene. People are huge fans of it, and Disney has decided to go more PC with it. Like, they've changed so much of the original ride. They're changing it so she's one of the pirates running the auction. And instead of a wife auction, instead of a bride auction, it is your auction. These villagers are auctioning off, being forced to auction off their possessions.
So what do you? So and by the way, we are doing this because we have gotten comments in the past to talk about the ride. We understand. SFZ, he has a video, and we've mentioned the video too before. He's got a video talking about the ride. Go check that out definitely if you want something about the ride. He's really good with that. Other channels have it as well. Tyler and I just aren't. We've been on the ride like twice in our lives. We're not the most interested in it, but we hear you guys. You want us to talk about it. So we figured bringing him on to talk about the changes would be the best way to do that. So what do you think? So you just gave us kind of the rundown. What is you can go and then I'll go. What's your opinion on that, on the change?
I don't like this very much. I don't think it's a good idea. I think under no circumstances should this have been a thing. I mean, I don't blame Disney. I mean, it's Disney. A lot of kids go on that ride, and you can't have people shouting, "We wants the redhead," and "Come on now, lass, show us your larboard side." Like, so it's to be like, "What's a larboard side?" And it's her butt. They're referring to her butt, and like, it's just not family friendly generally. I get that. But it's not historically accurate. It takes away from the original ride, like the concept that you're witnessing, like true pirates. That's been changed. I'm not a fan. Just for reference, I'm not a fan of the original changes. One of the creators of the original ride, his name's Editencia. He has called it Boy Scouts of the Caribbean. So basically what I'm trying to say is it's a watered down version of piracy in the Caribbean. It's not very historically accurate. It's a classic part of the ride, and a lot of people liked it. Even when I read this article by a woman who said she introduced it by saying, "as a redhead." So, and she was even a fan of it. She loved that part of the ride. People love this part of the ride. It's historically accurate. Well, it's a fun spin on something that may have been historically accurate.
Right.
And it was just it was a good time.
Yeah.
And I hate that they're getting rid of it. I think if they're gonna get rid of it, they should have done it in a better way than they are doing it. I don't like the generic. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Like, why would you be rounding up villagers to auction off their stuff when you could just take it? You know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that this is happening. It honestly, I would say, like, it doesn't surprise me in the way the world is moving. Does not surprise me that they're going very, like you said, like they're not dumbing it down, but they're lowering like the age quality. Or even what they're using in the ride, and even the Pirates 365. Somebody said it. If they're gonna do that, maybe even you said it. If they're gonna do that, make another ride. if you really want to, I understand what Disney World and Disneyland and all the Disney parks, I understand what they are, right? They're for, we all know what they're for. But it's
Families
not,
and
yeah,
kids and stuff.
right. But I feel like if you're going to do this and if you're going to keep changing it, firstly, what this indicates, and you said there's been more than one, they've changed other things in the past, this is not a good sign. I think for anytime you get this in general where there are these changes, although you may not think it's drastic, this is always a sign towards something more. So that is what I honestly would be worried about, because they're going at the redhead part now. Then what's the next thing they go after and say, well, we can't have this because, so I just feel like this is the beginning, because this is like, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a pretty major change, right? You said it's something that a lot of people like this scene. It's a big scene in the ride. Like, it's well known.
It's a fan favorite. It's a pretty decent chunk of the ride. It was a really good gag, I love the line, "Come on now, Lance, show us your larboard side." I laughed out loud on that part last time I was there. It's a pretty major change, if not strictly because it's such a fan favorite.
Right. And I don't know, it just worries me for the future. And now, to be completely honest, I care and I don't care, because I don't go on it. I'm not like there. If I was now, but that doesn't mean that I don't care, because if I was there, if you continuously go on that ride, if that ride means something to you, and that ride has a lot of value to a lot of the Pirates of the Caribbean fans that both of our channels have, a lot of people love that ride. That's obviously where these movies started. So
it doesn't make sense in the context of the movies too. I'm not sure if you're aware, I'm sure you are, of the backstory behind how Jack's ship is sinking at the beginning of Curse of the Black Pearl. In the short, it's a backstory thing where the two women who are always smacking Jack, Giselle and Scarlett and Giselle.
Yep.
They're both brides at the bride. Scarlett is the redhead. They're both brides at the bride auction, and in Giselle, in Scarlett's case, Jack was about to marry her at Shipwreck Cove. That's what this short focuses on, and he got cold feet. So in retaliation, she released some nails, or she sabotaged his ship, and that's why he's sinking. But why, for future fans of Pirates of the Caribbean who have seen the ride and then watched that short, it won't make any sense to them. There's no bride auction in the original ride. What's the significance of a bride auction,
Right. I just don't, like I said, so I don't, firstly, my opinion is I don't like this move, just like you. I don't think that, like you said, accurate. So she's gonna be a pirate, and they're auctioning off loot now, the loot that they have. It's no longer. Yeah. So, I mean, it makes the looting part, selling off the loot, that makes sense. That's okay. But switching the scene, it's more or less like annoying. Like, and again, with the whole kid thing, I understand that they don't want to show kids this kind of thing, but why now? Why are they just changing it now? Because this has been a thing for quite some time. So they're changing it now, and like I said, I'd rather, if they're going to do that, go full out and go for, because it will do well. Like, there's no way it's not going to do well. If you did a kid version of Pirates of the Caribbean, and you literally made a completely new ride, and then you had another ride that was more adult. It's not like Disney World doesn't have, or Disneyland or whatever. It's not like they don't have rides that are geared towards like older people. They do have like more grown-up themed rides, more scary kind of things.
Yeah, what that Yeti one, the one where you go up, and Expedition Everest, I think it's called. Yeah.
If you really wanted to start making this for younger audience, start making it more PG rating, I would much rather, my vote would be, make a new ride, put some time into it, because you said 2018, like this has been going on, and it's not like they just came up with this idea either. I'm sure they've been working on it.
It's not even the first time the ride has changed either. Like, they added food to make it seem like the pirates weren't chasing women. They removed a whole bunch of. It's a lot of that stuff with pirates chasing women. That used to be the focus of the ride, and now it's like pirates getting treasure and food and all this other stuff.
And I mean, it makes sense to keep the women aspect, because if you think about it, the movies don't even touch on that. The rides actually kind of touch on more adult themes than the movies do, and that's completely fine. And, you know, but like, again, if you're going to change it, why don't make a ride that's entirely Pirates of the Caribbean, like what you would think of the movies, because again, the movies are more, in a way, they're kid friendly. They don't have to, other than Jack's kind of alcoholism in 5. They don't deal with drinking that much. They don't deal with the things that pirates definitely did with women. They don't deal with that stuff, right? So, and if the ride wants to still be that, because Pirates of the Caribbean is something different than what it originally started at. You know, it started as the ride,
Definitely.
but then, you know what I mean? So the movies took it in a new direction, had this new light to it, and made it what we now know. At least when I think of Pirates of the Caribbean, you obviously think of the movies. Some people could still think of the ride for sure, but I think, you know, you hear Jack Sparrow, you don't think of the ride, you think of the movies. So make a ride, and that's ultimately, like, that's what I want from a Pirates of the Caribbean ride, to be honest. I want a movie version, and if that means it's going to be kid friendly and they're not going to be auctioning women, they're doing loot, or, you know, there's not going to be any like graphic things or whatever, that's honestly the ride I would go on. But then
Have you watched videos of the one? I think I can't remember if it's in Paris or Tokyo Disneyland. Have you seen videos of that?
That's the one where they went on it and they said it's the most, like, it's the greatest thing on planet Earth. Like the cast went on it. I think it's in Shanghai, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Shanghai Disneyland.
I want to watch that. I have not seen it.
It's one of those Universal. Have you ever been to Universal Studios?
Yes, I have. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of those Universal style where some of it you're moving through actual sets, but most of it's like a 3D type ride with screens, and it's super cool. So one of those would definitely be cool. So you do one of those, and based on the movie.
Yeah. And then
maybe even directly bring over the Shanghai one. Then you have the original to remember your roots, and then you get a Boy Scouts of the Caribbean full-on version. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it could work. Like Pirates isn't as big as like a Star Wars per se. Star Wars is getting its own park. Star Wars has multiple rides. Other movies even have multiple rides. So it's not and Pirates of the Caribbean, as we know, is a massive franchise, especially kids. Kids love, you know, pirates. So I
watched the first one when I was 5.
Yeah, see? I mean, young people still are starting to, you know, get into this stuff, and they go on the rides and they like it. So to have more than one ride, I feel like Disney would be afraid to do that with their parks for whatever reason, but I feel like that is honestly the way to go. I would just always prefer, in general, make a brand new thing instead of trying to change an iconic thing. Because I don't think that's fair. That's not fair to the people that liked what it was. And it got to where it was not because they were auctioning loot. Like, that's not what made the ride special. So you're changing what makes this ride good, and you're hoping for no backlash. And from what we've seen, there actually seems to be like quite a bit of backlash from it.
Oh, aggressive. On the blog post that announced the change, people, comment after comment, it didn't matter if you were a woman, a man, a redhead, and not a redhead, black, white, whoever. Everybody, almost everybody, probably, obviously not everybody, but it got so much backlash, so much. And that makes me happy to see, because this is a classic part of the ride. Now, the flip side of it, and what Disney is telling, that's Disney's defense of the change, is that changes to the ride keep the ride interesting and bring people back for more. I personally disagree with that, but that's what they're trying to sell.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think of something creative when doing something like this, and I guess, I mean, that's true. I agree with that, like, in principle, but that's not what they're doing. Like, they're changing. I
think there's a difference.
Yeah, there's
right. Dumbing it down and changing it to make it like adding Blackbeard and Davy Jones and the Pirates of the Caribbean characters to the original ride. That's adding something new.
Yep.
Changing the wife auction scene to a generic auction scene, that's dumbing it down. That's making it more PG.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's more. Right, there's different ways you can change things, and you know, the changes that I think we want, or like you just said, the Davy Jones Blackbeard. Those are kind of the ones that alternate, right? Sometimes you see Davy Jones, sometimes it's Blackbeard. It was not Blackbeard until Blackbeard got introduced in the movies. So those are those are fluid changes that happen over time. This is a change that something politically with Disney, they don't want it. It's messing, whatever with kids, they don't want it. They're changing it, and they'll never change it back. And I doubt they'll alter. Like, what would they alternate that scene with? Because if that's the
how could they alternate it?
Right. They'll change the loot that they're giving away. That's not really. That's like, that's not really doing anything to it. So I definitely don't like it. I know I've seen a couple of videos of people not liking it. So how many times have you been on the ride?
I have been on the Disneyland ride once when I went back out to California. I was born in San Diego. I don't live in California anymore, but I was born in San Diego. We went back to California on a trip. I went out to Disneyland. That's the only time I've ever been. No, that's the second time I've been to Disneyland. So second time I've been on the ride, but only time I remember being on the Disney ride.
Yeah.
I went on the one in Disney World too.
And you loved it? I want to get some.
I do. I love that ride, and if I go back with my kids in the future, or go back again because I want to go out to school in California, if I am gonna go back to Disneyland at some point, and I'm going to ride that ride regardless of whether or not they're selling a ride or not. But
yeah, I mean,
I'm still not a fan of the change. I'm a fan of the ride, not a fan of what they're doing to it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, like I do care, and I want what's best for the actual fans of the ride, the actual fans of Pirates of the Caribbean. It's not going to do anything massive to me just because I live so far away from it. I've gone on, like we said, because we did talk about the ride one time in one of our videos. Tyler and I have been on the ride exactly one time. I went on when I was 10. I loved it. It was easily my favorite ride at Disney. But then I went back 9 years later when I was 19, and the ride was under, they were fixing it. So it was under like 3-month construction. So I didn't get to go on it when I was 19, when I definitely could have taken because I remembered that I loved it. When I was 10, I remembered seeing, it was 9. I remember seeing Davy Jones. There was a Davy Jones in the fog. So I remember seeing that. I remember seeing the two ships fight or whatever, but I honestly don't remember like too much of it. But I do remember it was my favorite ride there. I would have loved to be on it and see it again. Older me, like more mature Pirates of the Caribbean fan me. Even now, after with the whole community, Pirates of the Caribbean community, I'd love to be on again. But this change doesn't do too much to me just because I'm not going to experience it, honestly. But if they keep changing things, and if this continues, which honestly I feel like it will, as time progresses, then
we're not done seeing changes to this, right?
That could definitely be a problem.
Another angle of this that I didn't bring up that I'm going to now is this was the last ride in Disney that Walt Disney himself had a hand in creating.
Right.
This is pretty much his legacy. Like, there's that rumor that he's buried under the ride or something like that.
Yep.
This is in part. This is one of the biggest parts of his legacy, and if you keep changing it like this, maybe not now, maybe not in 10 years, maybe in 20. At one point, does it stop being his vision, and do you start doing injustice to the creator?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point, and you've seen that, we've seen that before, like with other anything that any creator has ever made. You hear these stories sometimes or you've seen movies where somebody makes something and then the vision gets twisted and it's not what they originally planned it to be. You see that all the time, but this is like real. This is Walt, like you said, exactly. Walt Disney. This is the last ride he ever helped build, and at what point do you change it so much that it's not even Walt Disney's ride anymore? What does that do to the end of his legacy? Like, you don't want now. Honestly, at the end of the day, it comes down to money, and if these decisions like impact the money and it helps them, then they're going to do whatever they want to do. But in terms of just like moral, like respecting the man, like respecting what he did, and they do respect him all throughout Disney World, Disneyland, like they obviously know his legacy. But in smaller instances like this, honoring what he wanted to be is probably smart. Like I wouldn't change something that man helped make. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole on the spectrum. I wanted to add something to when you were saying how you loved it as a kid. I went on the Disney World one when I was, 6 or 7. We were on this Disney cruise, and we stopped in Disney World. It was the coolest thing. So I ride the ride for the first time in my life, and the first time you feel... this is just a testament to how awesome the ride is, and I hope that they don't change it too much in the future, but they will. The first time you float past the pirate battle happening at the fort,
yep,
and you feel the air cannons that mimic cannonball flying past your face. I lost it. It was the coolest thing, and it changes like that. Updating the ride, that's good. That's
right.
Another example of good changes that wasn't there in the 50s when Walt made it, or maybe it was 60s. I don't know. But this changed now. What they're doing now, it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
I get how they would think it would necessary, a good political move, get riding the wave.
Right.
The trends, feminism, I get that. But when 90% of the feedback of this decision is negative, that's something's got to be done, and they're not going to do it.
And if some of the hate comes from females too, saying that they even didn't mind it, that's the whole point. Is that yes, it's okay to change. Like, I am all for it. Like Wonder Woman, that was great. It wasn't great because she empowered. Well, people did say it was great because she empowered women. I thought it was great because she was fantastic as the role. Whatever. Feminism.
Yeah, it was primarily a good movie. Gal Gadot is primarily a good. I think she's a good actor.
Yeah, I think so.
It was good as a movie first, and then it was good
right.
as...
And that's where I come down a lot of it with that. Like, I get feminism, I get that stuff, but that's where I come down on it. And when it comes to this stuff, with the ride, I do understand that, if everybody was coming out of that ride and they were saying, this is degrading, like, this is not how women are, like, if everybody took it seriously and that was the feedback, which there's no way it is, but if that is the feedback, then yes, you do have to change it, because, if the majority of people think it is, even if it's not, then it becomes so, like, that's just how the world works. But
yeah, and it was unprovoked,
right.
So it's pandering.
Right, yeah, it just came out of nowhere, but the point is, like, if people know this is a ride, it's not real. This is honestly probably what pirates did do, but this isn't the pirates that Jack Sparrow and Will Turner. This isn't the one that they portray in the movie. So it's different. So you don't even have to mess with that kind of stuff. So this, it is historically accurate and stuff, and you can take offense to that. But in terms of the ride, it's just a ride. It's just an experience. It's part of the ride. It's not real. They're not actually doing it live before your eyes. And nobody thinks that anyway. So, and like you said, maybe the kids are saying, like, oh, what do they mean by that line? Or what are they doing? And then you have to explain it. But honestly, how small of a percentage is that? And there's no way that provokes them to make this kind of change anyway.
I know, and plus, like, if a kid does ask, what are they doing? All the parents gotta do is say they're selling a wife. You don't have to go into the details of what pirates did in the centuries that they were active. Like, that's not even part of it,
Right.
And it's a funny. So this actually goes back to what we were saying about Wonder Woman. How it was a good movie first, before it was empowering women. Is it a good ride first before it's making the change for the times? You know what I mean? I don't think I articulated that right. But it's not funny anymore. Like, it's funny because they're auctioning a bride. That's hilarious, Yeah. We want the red. That's funny. And now it's just the scene where they're auctioning off villagers' items. That's
it's like gold. Yeah, it's like trinkets that they got or something, like the concept art. We'll have pictures as we're talking about this. Yeah, it's generic. Like you said, it's generic. That's all it is. I mean, this is. Pirates definitely did that too, sure, but I just wouldn't mess with it. It's a mistake. It's definitely a mistake. So we'll have to see how this all turns out. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of this ride change. If there's anything more, in addition to this ride that happens, any big news, we'll definitely have SFZ back, and we'll definitely talk about it. We can talk about it more as long as there's a reason to. Like I said, go check out his channel just in general. He does a lot of different gaming videos and Pirates of the Caribbean videos. Go check out his channel, subscribe, watch his ride video specifically, because we don't have a, this is a news kind of thing.
I'm pretty proud of that one, actually, the ride video.
Yeah, no, it's really good. So check that out. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, Podcast Now. Like, share this video. Thank you, SFZ, for joining me on this video.
Thanks for having me.
No problem, and we will see you guys on the next Pirates of the Caribbean video.